Black people to wake up, clean up, and stand up. Family, I'm going to wait a few minutes. Hopefully, more people come on live. I have experienced the fact that many people come on later in the recorded version, so I'm not one that's going to wait 20 minutes for people to come on. But as I do wait for a few of you to come in, I do want to thank you all who are really showing up and showing out, purchasing my new book, Bukusu, a self-empowerment handbook off of Amazon. I really appreciate you. I appreciate the support. It's very validating to put work into a project that means a lot to you and that you hope mean a lot to the community, and to see the community come out and support. So definitely want to thank you for that sincerely. Now, having said that, I want to talk about something I think is important, something that I've been thinking about for several years, something that I was victimized by when I was younger that I didn't understand. And it caused me, because I had a misunderstanding of ideology, it caused me in some cases to make missteps and to burn bridges and to not make some of the best decisions. Fortunately for me, I had Jegnas, master teachers, some would say mentor type of people in my life who, at every step of the way, if they saw me driving off the cliff, so to speak, they helped me put the brakes on, and they would pull me and say, "Brother, something I need you to read," or "Brother, something we need to talk about," or "Brother, it's something I want you to listen to," and then we're going to talk about it. And this was their way of saying that I see you mean well, and I know you're working hard, but where you're going is not the best place to go. I need you to open your mind up, young. But this is what they're saying to me, right? And I want to say it to you. I want to share it with you. I don't know who will be watching this video, and I don't know what your politics will be. I don't know what your age will be, your experience in the movement will be, but I do want to share this because I think it's important. And I may never meet some of you, but through this technology, I can put the information out. The question, family, is, does your ideology liberate you, or does it imprison you? Now, everyone is going to answer. If you're socialist, Marxist, Leninist, oh, of course it liberates me, scientific socialism. If you're a Christian, you're going to say, oh, of course, because Jesus Christ, is in the blood and he died for our sins. Of course, Christianity liberates me. All of you are going to say that your ideology liberates you. But I want you to really think about it, because I think a lot of times we mean well. We start off with the right intention and we get lost, man. We lose our way. We lose our way for a number of reasons. We lose our way because we may misunderstand an ideology. We lose our way because we don't do proper study of our ideology, the history of it, the different people who are pioneers of this ideology, the different ways this ideology has been used or misused. And we also forget that people have malicious intent sometimes. So here you may be a true believer, you may be sincere with this ideology, but the person, the place, the center, the place of worship, the educational center, the community center, the organization might be using that ideology to manipulate, to defraud, right? Okay, so here's the thing. Oh man, people are crazy on these what they be posting on these videos. Anyway, sometimes we lose our way. And though you may think your ideology is the best thing in the world, it has all the answers, and there's nothing that can challenge it, and I want to challenge that. I also want to challenge the notion that our ideology cannot be critiqued, that it's uncritiquable, that it has all the answers. There's no soft spots or blind spots, because that's not how it works. That's not how it works. But I want to tell you the parable so you understand. I want you to imagine that you're on an island, a deserted island. So it's just you. And you run out of, let's say, fish or vegetation, or you're starting to run out, you're getting low, and you say, man, I need to what am I going to do to eat, right? To survive until I can hopefully be discovered by someone and returned home. So you may have, let's say, I don't know why you would have one, but you have a telescope, or you're able to see at a distance, and you're able to see that, let's say, over to the northeast of where you are on this island, there's another island. And from what you see, that island has plenty of fruits and vegetables, and you think, wow, it may have some fish. So now you're like, wow, I need to get over there. So what do? You get some trees, cut some trees up, get some logs, get some seaweed or whatever, and tie those logs together very tightly until you have a makeshift raft. You get on this raft with the few belongings you have, say a prayer, meditate, do your affirmations, and hope that you get to this island safely. You get on the raft, you get to the island. So, in other words, the raft was an instrument of liberation. It got you from point A to point B. It helped you to travel. It helped you to move. It gave you mobility. It got you to a better place. That's ideology. That raft is a symbol, metaphor almost for ideology. But now imagine that upon getting to this other island, and you notice, wow, it does have fruits and vegetables, plenty of fish. Wow, I'm glad I made the decision to come here. Now you take the raft that got you to the island and carry it on your back everywhere you go. Everywhere you go. You go to sleep with it. You wake up with it. It's always on your back. Everywhere you go. That would be foolish. That would be ridiculous. But the metaphor, the analogy here is that which first liberated you, that which got you from point A to point B, has now become a tool of your enslavement, has now become a burden. A lot of us, I think, don't understand that ideology is a framework. It's a set of ideas and principles. Theory is theoretical. And it's intended to point you in the right direction, to give you some structure, to help you maybe understand how oppression works, who or what is responsible for oppression, and maybe some of the ways you may internalize your oppression, and maybe some tools for resisting your oppression and becoming free or liberated. You know, so Christianity is a religious ideology. It's a set of beliefs. And it has its own ideas about the issues we struggle with as human beings, some of the ways that we can liberate ourselves as human beings, become better people, become closer to God, so to speak. Capitalism is an ideology. It has its ideas about money, inflation, these different terms, recessions, what an economy, how an economy should be structured, and things of that nature. Nationalism is an ideology. Like nationalism or any type of nationalism, it's an ideology. It's a set of principles and beliefs. Now, when we first get into something, a church, a political organization, what have you, there's a tendency to be extreme in our adherence. There's a tendency to give our all, to be almost fanatical, right? It's something new. It's something that gets us excited. And so we can tend to be fanatical about something. And as we're in something a little longer and we meet up with other people who've been in it longer, who school us and guide us, we start to get a more balanced idea of the ideology we're in. We become more nuanced. We still believe in ideology, but we now see nuance and complexity, whereas before it was this or that, and there was no room for nuance, right? So as a nationalist, when I was much younger, I was hardline. If you had blonde hair, sisters had a perm, oh man, I thought you was a complete sellout. You was brainwashed. You was trying to be white just on the strength of those things. Fortunately, as I said, I was earnest in my study. I was sincere. And I came across elders who said, no, brother, that's not the way you look upon that. We have black people in our history that had all types of hairstyles and dressed and spoke different languages and changed their names or didn't, but they were still Africans and new Africans who wanted freedom and liberation. Some were Muslim, some were Christian, some were agnostic, some were atheists, some were Buddhist, some were Jew, so to speak, Hebrew. They're all beautiful people. We don't judge people on those things. Those are the personal preferences, right? We're judging them on their character. Are they upright? Are they studious? Are they conscientious? Are they dependable? Are they loyal to the people? It took me a few years to figure that out, and I became less abrasive and more accepting of our people. I began to see the complexity of black people, that we're not one way, or you got to do this one way. If you don't do it this way, that's not how life works. There's nuance, complexity, right? So, what I want to share is that because of that period in my life, I'm going to say probably my mid-20s, early 20s. Remember, I was conscious. I was born into consciousness. My father was teaching me stuff since I was 3, 4, 5. And then I read Malcolm X Speaks when I was about 13, and I was sold on nationalism, and I was sold on Brother Malcolm. So I've been I've been conscious for a long time, and I've been involved in some way studying our history, teaching our history, organizing black people, fighting and protesting white racist institutions for some time. But there was a time when my understanding of the ideology was rigid, very rigid. And it was like, if you didn't say this, dress this way, mention these names, or then I wrote you off. You're not serious, you're not real. And I'm so glad I had beautiful Africans, new Africans, who corrected me on that. Said, no, that's not how you get down with this. It's going to take all types of black people and some allies at some points to do the things we need to do to move forward as a people, right? Now, I was a young man, though. See, the difference was I was really young like that. But what we cannot afford is to have people my age, 56 and older, who are rigid like that. That's not good. Your ideology is a general framework and guideline. But maybe your ideology doesn't speak to patriarchy. Maybe your ideology has blind spots when it comes to class. It doesn't have a class analysis of capital and capitalism, and how it alienates you, and how it makes people avaricious and malicious and ruthless. And maybe your ideology doesn't have a real critique of race. Maybe you Marxist, you Lenin'd out, but you don't have a race analysis because your complete analysis is capital, is class, right? So what I'm saying is, it's important that we realize that what we believe is an imperfect. We're still works in progress. Even ideologically, we're still working those things out. And even the pioneers of these ideologies didn't have it all figured out. If they were being honest, Malcolm was still seeking, still searching, still learning, still growing, still talking to people. He goes to Africa. People there, some of the Arabic revolutionaries who were checking Malcolm, well, understand, we're not black per se, but we're revolutionary. We're anti-imperialists. We're anti-capitalists. We're anti-war. Where do we fit into this? You saying it's only just about black nationalists? What about us? So they forced him to say, you know what? Maybe I need to be a little more Pan-African. In other words, there's a global dimension, and nationalism sometimes can become too narrow to address the global concerns, right? So Malcolm was still searching particularly in that last year or two of his life, and he was open to hear what other people had to say. So when he went to Africa, and he went maybe 2 or 3 times, he went with Honorable Elijah Muhammad in the late 50s. But that last 2 years, Lord, I had to sneeze. Those last 2 years were critical for him because it opened his mind, right? Because now he's not just thinking within the confines of the United States or domestic issues or civil rights. That's why you hear him start talking about what? Human rights. And this is why you hear him talking about taking the United States to the United Nations, to court, and self-determination, and all these things. He's a good model for how we should be. Very good model. We can't become so stuck in our ideology, family, that we are unable to adapt and to adjust to new circumstances, to situations we haven't seen before, to changing political terrain. We can't be stuck, or no, because according to nationalism, I can't. Well, hold on. You know, so there's people who say we can't have allies. Black people have no friends. We don't have no allies. And I categorically reject that. This isn't about having friends. It's about if you're in a wartime scenario, people warring against you, there's certain weapons you need. There's certain intelligence or information you need. There's certain skills you need, right? And you don't have access to them. What do? You identify people who do have the things you need or want. And then it really works out if it so happens that you have something that would benefit that group of people, and y'all meet and you form an alliance, right? And the alliance is kind of transactional. I get benefit from my being aligned with you. You get benefit from being aligned with me. Alliances aren't permanent most of the time. They're temporary because once people get what they want, sometimes the alliance dissolves. So, for instance, the United States, the Soviet Union were in an alliance in World War II. They were part of the Allied powers. But after World War II, the Cold War started, and Soviet Union and United States were enemies, family. So allies can change. But my point is to say, yes, I'm nationalist. Yes, I'm Pan-Africanist. But at the end of the day, I want my people to be free. At the end of the day, I want all people to be free from oppression. At the end of the day, I want all communities to be safe and everyone to be able to eat without having to kill or steal for it. I want people not to have mental health issues because they live in an environment that's so stressful and ugly and wicked. I want that for everybody. Because at some point, if this faction of people is unhappy, it's going to affect that faction of people. If that faction of people has an unfair advantage, it's going to cause chaos with other groups of people, and we'll always be in a web of chaos and wickedness. So at the end of the day, real revolutionaries are fighting out of love for themselves and their immediate people, but also understanding a love for humanity. We want everyone to be good. We want to address the people who are wicked, who are causing trouble amongst all people, of course. But at the end of the day, I want my Arab brothers and sisters to be good. I want continental Africans to be good. I want my people in the diaspora to be good. And believe it or not, I even want the Europeans to be good. Because maybe if everyone's good and they won't be maladjusted, they won't be out here trying to take nothing from everybody else. So some of them will have to be taught properly, right? But that's my point. That's my goal. My goal is liberation, freedom, safety, security, social mobility for people. Have some spiritual grounding, have ethics that we live by, where we don't cause harm to our environment and to other people, and that we only raise up on people when we need to, right? But you can be so stuck in your ideology that, like that raft in the analogy I talked about, that at first was liberating because it got you to another island. Now you're wearing it on your back. That which liberated you now is burdening you, because once you got to the other island, you're supposed to put the raft down. Don't walk around the island with the raft. Put the raft down, go about your business, and when you need to go travel again, you pick up that raft. That's like ideology. And what I found is that I have learned from many great people. I've learned from Minister Farrakhan back in the day. I learned from the 5% Nation of Gods and Earth. Shout out to Father Allah. I've learned from Kwame Ture. I've learned from Dr. Khalid Abdul Muhammad, Dr. James Turner at Cornell, Africana Studies and Research. A lot of good people. Una Mozak, proprietor of Black Liberation Bookstore, who fought in the Ghanaian Revolution, and actually was injured in that revolution when her bookstore was bombed in Guyana. Really good people. And all of them were different. Some were Marxists, some were socialists, some were Christian, some were Islamic, some were Buddhist, some were atheists, some were scholars and intellectuals, some were hardcore activists, grassroots activists, some were intellectuals who read and studied and wrote books. But they all wanted liberation for Black people, and they all understood that if you want what you want for yourself, you gotta want for your brother. We can't be the only ones liberated, and other people are being oppressed. That's all connected, family. So let me give you a good example. Right now, we have an election coming up, presidential election. Now, you know how they do. They create these dichotomies. So let's play along with them. In one corner, we have Kamala Harris. She's a prosecutor. Some people feel that she's been unfair to put a lot of brothers in jail or what have you. Then in the other corner, we have Donald Trump. None of these people are going to be perfect. No politician is going to be perfect. No human being is going to be perfect. Nobody, even your spouse, even your parent, is going to meet every need you have, dot every I and cross every T. That is impossible. That doesn't happen in the real world. What we do hope is that the people that are part of our governance system, our government, will be fair, will be balanced, will be adjusted, will be competent, will be articulate, will understand the critical issues of the day, will be problem solvers, and will not be vicious and malicious, punitive or narcissistic, can listen to other people, can take other ideas, right? Not out to hurt people. That's what we hope. So as we look at both candidates, obviously we live in this country. Unless you're moving from this country before November, what happens politically will affect you, right? Whether you say I'm not American, like Malcolm said, like I say, and you don't subscribe to that. I live here, I was born here, had nothing to do with me, but I don't subscribe to the policies and practices of this country, right? Even if you take that position, if you live here, the politics of this country will affect you. The person who's the president will affect you because they have politics and practices and policies that they push, right? So things that you say, oh, it's just local politics. No, it is not, because guess what? Your local politics don't dictate federal income tax. They don't dictate interest rates, right? So yes, your local politics is important, and we should engage because we live in these municipalities, these cities. And yes, if there's a tool at our disposal, we should use it the best way we know how. But we have to understand everything has limits. So there's a lot of people, nationalists and Pan-Africans, who are saying, man, I don't trust Kamala Harris. I don't trust Donald Trump. I don't trust none of it. It's the white man's electoral system. Yeah, but naturally that is correct. However, we are a colonized people. We are living in this land. Historically did not come here of our own free will or volition. We're brought here against our will. And after we've had this civil war, in this country, no one asked us if we wanted to be part of the country or not. They wrote a 14th Amendment and made us citizens of the country. Because it said in the 14th Amendment, if you're born in this country, you are a citizen, period. But nobody ever had a plebiscite or referendum, a vote, and said to these newly freed Africans and the Africans that were free already, would you all like to be part of our nation, the United States? Would you all like to be left alone to create your own nation? Never asked that. And though you may think that's a simple question, that's a deep question, because that question still needs to be asked and it needs to be answered. I know in Puerto Rico, every 4 years, they have this referendum and they ask their citizens of Puerto Rico, do you want to remain a Commonwealth of the United States colony? Commonwealth is like a colony. Would you like to be a state of the United States? Or would you like to be an independent Puerto Rican nation? Now, overwhelmingly, the majority of people, every time this referendum comes up in Puerto Rico, they vote to remain a Commonwealth of the United States. But at least the question is put forth to them. We never had the question put forth. So as far as I'm concerned, we are colonized people. We are citizens against our free will. Whether we want to be citizens or not, if you're born here, you're automatically a citizen according to their law. Now, we are colonized, family. What this means is we're forced to make compromise decisions every day. Every day. I talk to nationalists and Pan-Africans like me and say, oh no, that's the white man. I'm not supporting the white man. I understand, but I say like this. Right now, you got a bunch of dead white men in your pocket and in your bank account. Called money and currency of the United States. Are you going to forfeit that because there's a bunch of former slave masters on it and imperialists? No, not one person going to give up their money. But yet, that money, that currency that's part of this economy, we are a part of. We work at jobs and companies whose policies and practices we don't agree with sometimes, but we work there. Why? Because we have to earn money to live and take care of our family. So we make compromised decisions all the time, and we need to be very clear about that. That comes with being in captivity, right? So what that means is we have to be selective and tactical, right? So in this election, when you find out there's this secret plot, not so secret anymore, called Project 2025, and they talking about doing A, B, and C, taking all of the power from the three branches and putting it in the one executive branch, giving the president all the power. They got a 900-something page playbook for what the president would do in the first 180 days of his presidency. It's all laid out, and it says very clearly, because I read through it, it says very clearly, they're gonna get rid of the Department of Education. A lot of people are going to lose their social service benefits, and people applying for them will have a much more difficult time getting them. So that social safety net that America has called social services is going to be greatly affected. It's going to be much more difficult for your child to go to get a college education. A lot of people will lose their government jobs immediately. And instead of taking civil service exams based on merit, you get the job based on merit and knowledge. Getting the job will be based on your loyalty to the president, who they presume will be Donald Trump. They presume he'll win, and if he wins, this is the playbook that he will work with. They're talking about taking away your ability to sue jobs, schools, institutions for racial discrimination. It's a lot coming down the pipe. It's going to affect us negatively. It's going to impact us, women, and immigrants very negatively. When you say this to some people, say, oh, well, that's the white man. He's always done that. See, this is what I mean now. Yes, he's always been oppressive in this national context historically, but we never had this level of malignant narcissist president willing to say or do anything, completely incompetent, not informed. You can tell he doesn't read very, very much literature. You can tell that he's really not good with policy. You can tell he doesn't have any really practical, good domestic or foreign policy measures. He hasn't really intellectually grappled with the problems facing this country. He's ill-prepared. You can tell. He has a hatred of women and holds them on very low regard. has a hatred of black people and brown people. He thinks all immigrants, particularly African immigrants or African descendant immigrants of members of the African diaspora, are animals. He uses this word very loosely: animals, murderers, rapists. Forgets about his ancestors that stole this land from the so-called Native American, right? And how many of them were murderers and criminals. Forgets his own ancestors' history. But anyway, so we have not seen this before. Yes, there was Ronald Reagan, but this is what was different. I was a teenager when I remember very clearly. Money was taken from public libraries. Money was taken from our community centers. Community programs started to close down. It was the money was tight for a lot of black and brown people. The economy wasn't moving well for us. But we had a hip hop music that was revolutionary. That was telling people to fight the power. It was telling people wake up. It was telling people stop killing each other. It was telling people organize, black man. It was telling people get knowledge yourself, challenge the government, resist. When I was a teenager in the 80s, when Ronald Reagan was president, we had a strong activist community in this country. I'm talking about black people. It was strong acts of black resistance. There's a lot of political education going on. There's a lot of consciousness raising and community grassroots organizing going on. And Ronald Reagan did not have control of the Supreme Court, did not have control of the House and the Senate. Well, see, today you got this guy, Donald Trump. You think Ronald Reagan was something? This guy is off the chain, right? Complete narcissist. Doesn't want to hear anybody, doesn't believe anybody, completely self-congratulatory. Doesn't see beauty in anybody else but himself. Doesn't give other people credit. Thinks that he's never wrong. This is very, very dangerous. And on top of it, he's a xenophobe, which means he has a hatred of so-called foreigners. He's a racist, and he's a patriarch. He's a sexist. On top of all that, he's paired up with a Supreme Court where 6 of those justices, of the 9 Supreme Court justices, are Republican. And they would probably be described as right-wing or at least sympathetic to the right wing. They're right-wing adjacent, including Clarence Thomas, the so-called black man on the Supreme Court. I believe that the Republicans control the House, and the only thing they don't control is the Senate, and that could change. So, and we don't have as informed, as radical, as consistent and committed class of activists and community organizers as we did in the 80s when Ronald Reagan was here. We were tearing things up back in the 80s. Go check the internet and read up on what was going on in the 80s in black communities and the level of protest that was going on. We also don't have the level of radical, informed, politically informed, and revolutionary hip hop and music that we did in the 80s. This music is coming from and promoting a strip club culture. Every time I turn around, I'm getting these TikToks and these black women scantily clad, just wiggling their butt cheeks. It's like, what is that? What's going on here? Right? No real message. Everything's materialistic. Everything's talking about these transactional relationships. Give me money and I give you this. That culture of political discernment is there, but not there like it used to be when I was coming up. So you're talking about two totally. So don't compare this to Reagan. This is far worse. We have not seen this complete combination of dynamics at one time happening in this country. And it's very important that we understand this is not a beast we've seen before. So when these people try, oh yeah, we've seen this before. No, we haven't. What this means is that if Trump wins the election, he is poised to have control of the Supreme Court. That's why, by the way, they granted him immunity. Remember that? Yeah, because he has control of the Supreme Court. The Republicans do, that is. If he wins in November, he'll have control of the Supreme Court, control of the House, and who knows what happens. The may have control of the Senate. And what they have said in this Project 2025 is that they're going to pass all these executive orders and do all this stuff, taking all the power and investing it in the president. So he would be an autocrat, a dictator. So this whole idea of the three branches of government are balanced only works when we assume that one party doesn't control all three branches. But when one party controls all three branches, family, there is no balance of power. That's out the window. And I'm listening to our community members, some of whom are nationalists, Pan-Africans, some of whom are just regular black people. And I don't think they really understand, like, no, I'm not going to vote. Like, listen, because I'm not supporting the white man. Hold on. First of all, we all support the white man, whether we want to or not. We need to be clear. We need to be very clear. Right? We are colonized. We are not in power. We're all in captivity, and there's just different degrees of oppression. Some people are in the yard in prison. Some people are out here. Both in captivity, different degrees of captivity. Right? We don't make the laws here. We don't enforce the laws here. We need to be very clear what it is. It means that every day we live compromised lives. We make compromised decisions. If we're going to run away, do we run away at night? Do we run away in the morning when everybody can see? Do we discuss our plans on the plantation in broad daylight? Or do we get the cover of night and secretly discuss these plans and use coded language? Do we put those codes in songs? You see, so if you look at the ancestors, they moved a certain way because they knew they're compromised. They're on a plantation, for God's sakes, where their bodies are being exploited, where they're being constantly dehumanized, their labor is exploited. They can't just be open and free about things. They have to be clandestine. They have to think. They have to strategize. They have to be tactical. And guess what? I don't see any group waging armed insurrection in this country, taking over no government. The only people I saw doing that was the white boys in January 6th that everybody's talking about, that little insurrection. So that means that with all these black revolutionaries, including myself, ain't nobody doing anything revolutionary in that respect. Why? Because we know not the time for that. People are not ready for that. They're not ready for that. They're not ready for the level of sacrifice and discipline that would take. So what do we do in the meantime? We educate people. We have these rites of passages. We have these African-centered schools. We have cooperatively owned businesses trying to teach people to pool their money and own a little something in the community. We're running for little local offices, and we're doing these different things. Cultural nationalism. We're having African-centered holidays like Akoma Day instead of Valentine's Day, like Kwanzaa instead of Christmas, right? We're doing these different things. We're building relationships with people throughout the diaspora. We're doing these other things that lay the groundwork for that level of revolution. But if we think that we are not complicit in American politics, economy, then we are woefully wrong, because we're here. We are here. And we have to be wise about how we get there. So people think it's odd for me to say, I'm voting for Kamala Harris. I'm voting for her because I don't want him. It's not a vote for her. It's a vote against him. It's a vote against him. Well, actually, how could you do that? What you going to do? I'm not going to vote. I heard Africans saying they not voting. Now, listen, when you abstain from voting, what you're doing is giving up your ability to make a choice. And if you're not doing something else alternatively, then that's a defeatist position. What's going to happen is you're going to make it easier for that side to win. Then I heard people say, oh, I'm voting for Robert F. Kennedy. I'm going to vote for, what's our good brothers, Cornel West. I'm like, yo, if you do that, you're going to split the vote. You're going to Kamala Harris is going to get less votes she would have gotten from you. These two guys are going to get votes. They have no chance of winning the president of the election. And this demonic force is going to be in office to execute all those plans and policy proposals. So what you do is you be tactical. Let's keep him out. She'll be in there. She ain't going to be perfect either. She's going to do stuff we disagree with too. Let's be clear. This ain't just about Trump. We don't know everything there is to know about the sister either. There may be some things in her past. She may have some issues. She may be compromised. Yeah, she may be compromised. But it's tactical. It's to say, let's make sure he don't get in to execute those things that we are not prepared for at this point. She gets in, maybe she gets 4 years, maybe she gets reelected, gets another 4 years. What does that do? It gives us time to do what we should be doing anyway. I see somebody's talking about Elijah Muhammad. Okay. It gives us time to do what we should be doing. And that's what Garvey and Honorable Elijah Muhammad said. That is building the infrastructure for an independent nation. We should be constantly thinking, we're here, we got to do what we got to do while we're here. But we're constantly working towards doing what we need to do, studying what we need to study, creating the relationships we need to create, and building the infrastructure necessary to have a sovereign nation, family. Self-determination is the answer. But I can tell you this, if this guy gets in office, we are not prepared at this moment to respond to the level of political carnage that's going to be created. Read that document. Check out the videos on it, and you'll see what I'm saying. We're not prepared for that. So the smart thing to do, make sure he doesn't get in. And as in those 4 to 8 years, we're working hard to build relationships. Overseas, we're working hard to create cooperative economics. We're working hard to create or to exercise self-determination. I think that's the intelligent thing to do, right? I really do. And I am as a nationalist and Pan-Africanist as you're going to get, and I've been that way since I was 13. And I have a resume to prove it. Look my name up. Look me up. You'll see. But in terms of being nuanced, in terms of being strategic, what decision will put me and my people in the best possible position? What decision will give us the time we need to do the things we need to do? What decision will help us survive so that we can get to a place where we thrive? And I can tell you this. What they're talking about, how they're using the police and the military to quell protests and to prevent. I'm telling you, family, it's not going to be a climate for us doing the type of work we have to do. So what you do is keep him out, and you work feverishly and diligently to build what we need to build. This is a very important case in point of not letting your ideology block your ability to think creatively, to think freely, and to adapt and adjust to the circumstances that you are in. I just had a meeting with a brotherhood group I'm in, and I was saying to my good brothers, all of whom are activists, intellectuals for many years, like myself, and I said to them, one of the challenges of Black nationalism and Pan-Africanism and any ideology is its ability to see the world as it is, not as we want it to be, as it is, to understand how things work, to see things realistically and accurately, and to make decisions that reflect what we see, to make decisions that think about the long game, or if you play chess like me, the end game. When we make this decision, where will it leave us based on all we know? Now, you could always be wrong, but based on what we know, what's the best decision to make to put us in the right position we need to be in? That's how tacticians think. That's how chess players think. When you play in chess, somebody might, boom, put you in check. You in check. You can't be over here doing something. No, the first thing you got to do is move your king out of check, or put another piece to block that check, or take the piece that got your king in check. And once you do that, that's the immediate thing you do. Now, you may want to go down here, put your pawn on the other side, and turn into a queen. You may want to put his king in check, but you got to stop all of that, because immediately you got to deal with this check of your king, right? This is what I'm talking about. So chess teaches you got to be able to respond to an immediate threat. Stop the presses, stop what you was going to do, respond to that threat. And as you responding to the threat, a good chess player is also thinking about, what will this opponent's likely next move likely be, and how will I address that? What will my strategy and game plan be, independently of what he or she does going forward? But you have to be doing all of that concurrently at the same time. It's the same with political struggle. I'm nationalist, I'm Pan-Africanist, but if I see, we're gonna have to move this way because that's the best thing calculated to put us where we need to be, I'm going for that. I'm not going to be like, oh no, I'm nationalist, or we don't do that, or that's like saying you're nonviolent, right? Let's just say you're a nonviolent person. You believe in this thing of nonviolence, and then people run up in your home. You got your wife, your husband, whoever, your kids in there, your grandparents in there, but you nonviolent. That's your ideology. So you say, well, no, I can't. You just got to let them do what they do. They come in there and sexually assaulting your family members, killing people, taking stuff, breaking stuff up. But you so stuck to your non-violent ideology, you do nothing. No. What you do is you could be non-violent, but you see people coming to your house, you need to have the capacity to defend yourself. You need to get out of your ideology and respond to what you're seeing happening right in front of you. And so what I'm saying to us, don't let your ideology get you stuck like that, where you say, oh no, I'm Pan-Africanist, we can't, oh no, I'm nationalist. No. Yes, that's our framework. That's our guideline. That's what gives us a moral center, gives us a political center. But understand, things can happen in this country and in this world that force us to confront those circumstances. And we have to have the intellectual flexibility to be able to say, oh, we got to move this way. Normally, I would not move this way because this is what I believe. But given this scenario that's right in front of me, I'm going to do what's intelligent and tactical. Because if we're not here, if we all locked up, we all starving, we all don't have anything, then we lost, right? We have to be tactical. And it's very difficult convincing my people of this because we're so immersed in, oh, I'm Christian, we don't do that. Yeah, I understand, I hear you. But different scenarios can occur that would make you, if you're intelligent and reasonable, act otherwise, right? That's what I'm saying. We can't be stuck, or else the very thing, ideology, that's supposed to liberate you, help you see clearly, and be a guiding path becomes a form of your imprisonment because you're unable to let that go. Say, no, you can't do that right now. Right? You're in the middle of the ocean, like my man in the Titanic movie. Middle of the ocean. And there's a lifeboat 6 feet away from you. But you have to be able to swim to get to it. But your ideology says, oh no, we don't. Swimming is an absolute sin. Swimming is blasphemy. So, listen, is that the position is that really the position you're going to take? Are you going to be that fundamentalist with your literal interpretation of everything that you're going to actually just die in the middle of the ocean when you could have swam to safety? Brother Imhotep from Kemet said, and the white man stole it, I think, and they gave it to Hippocrates, I believe, who came up with this Hippocratic oath that doctors take. Imhotep said, if no other thing can appeal to you ethically, do no harm. If you don't have no commandment or anything, or you're lost, do no harm. That means not just do no harm to other people, Do no harm to yourself. If I'm a Muslim and I don't eat pork, and I haven't eaten pork since 1986, or beef, or cow's milk, or bread, and I don't eat pork. But the only thing in the supermarket or the farm or wherever we are, only thing in this particular time is pork. Is there no provision that says if it will keep you alive, eat it? I don't know the Quran like that, but I bet you there is a provision like that. Because if something is here to help you, it doesn't want you to do harm to yourself. But even if it didn't say that, you as an intelligent human being should be able to say, forgive me, Allah. Please watch over me. I just don't want to die. Right? It's the same thing, family, politically. Don't let your ideology suffocate you and trap your mind to the point where you can't think in your own best interest and the best interest of your people. You understand? So we got these people like, oh no, I'm not working with no white people. No, I'm not working with Latinos. I'm not. Listen, you're in a wartime scenario. You need allies. These people live in a community closer to your oppressor. These people work with them, are in their organizations, are privy to what they're saying, what their plans are concerning us. They have intelligence or information that we need and don't have access to. You're not going to build alliance with those people? You're not going to build alliance with those people? I'm going to tell you like this. I am not a slave to any ideology. My objective is liberation, total and complete liberation. And if you are a slave to ideology, guess what? You're not free. See the irony of that? The thing that's supposed to free you is actually the thing that has you in captivity. And that's not the point of a liberation theory or ideology. So if you are stuck, oh no, I'm going to do this no matter what, then you're enslaved. With that said, peace and Black Power. Thank you.